The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
To On Trial, where we debate the merits of your favorite movies. Hope you're ready, Hollywood, because you're on trial.
All rise. Court is now in session. Hello. Welcome to On Trial. It's my first time hosting the show, so this is going to be fun. I am your host and your judge who's being forced here at gunpoint, Alexis Hejna. Joining me, normally this would be a spot filled by Mr. Mark Radulich, but instead he has sent his children because what is the point of having spawn if you do not get to use them for slave labor? Mr. Jonas Radulich, say hello.
Hello.
This is not the first time you and I have worked together. Had you on for the Scott Pilgrim miniseries on Netflix, and we also had you on for the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series, not the movie, because there is no way in hell I'm punishing you like that. And also Miss Lily Radulich. Lily, I know that you've jumped in on a few shows before, but I can't remember if I've officially had you on one of my shows before.
No.
I didn't think so. I was trying to remember. It's like, I know that you've jumped in a couple of times behind your dad's back. So, all right. And tonight, this is going to be a little different for most on trials because normally we have someone defending and prosecuting a movie. This time we are doing a comparison because Disney, despite what happened with Snow White, decided, you know what, we might as well go ahead and release the next one and see how it goes. When will this torment end? We're looking at the live action Lilo and Stitch. Now, the original Lilo and Stitch came out in 2002, was written and directed by Chris Sanders and Dean Dubois, I don't know, from a story by Chris Sanders. This was an interesting movie because it came out at a time where Disney's animated films were not really hitting their marks. They were not leaving as much of an impact. The second renaissance, as it were, was kind of dying out. And this was a completely unique story and a sci-fi one at that, which is not something that we had seen Disney really do. Usually they stuck to their fairy tales. Now, of course, you two, you are 11 and 14, so this obviously came out long before you were born. So, Lily, why don't you go ahead and start and tell us, what are your thoughts? Let's start with just your general thoughts about Lilo and Stitch. Again, I know this came out long before you were born, but does this rank up with one of your favorite animated films, or is it kind of middle tier? Just in general, what is your thoughts on this animated film?
I always liked it. I liked it a lot as a kid because it was just one of those fun Disney movies that would be put on and I would enjoy it. I leaned more towards princesses though than I did like anything else. So this was definitely one of those like just random ones I'd put on. But watching it now, I like it a lot. I think everything between all the characters is really sweet. And it's nice. I like it. I don't.
All right. Again, you said you like princesses more. What would you say was probably like higher on your? What's your okay? What is your absolute favorite animated Disney film?
At the moment, it would have been like
yeah, Zachary. Stitches be cray.
Sure. Exactly.
At the moment, it would have been like Mulan.
Okay.
Yeah, because I always thought her whole idea was really cool, but I like Ariel because she's a mermaid, and I've always liked mermaids. So those two probably would have been like the top tier for me.
Yeah, I was crazy about The Little Mermaid when it came out. I was like 5 or 6 when it debuted. So I was the very impressionable child age, and I was like, and yeah, all the girls were obsessed with mermaids when that movie came out. Jonas, what about you? What can you tell us about your thoughts on the original Lilo and Stitch?
I personally believe it is a very good story about families having to deal with the loss of people that they loved. I also thought it was very nice to see the parallels between Lilo and Stitch, as the name implies. I thought it was interesting to see how they were similar in a way, with Leo lashing out and so does Stitch. It was very interesting to see that dynamic and very sad at times.
Very true. Lilo is a really interesting character. I think she's one of the most original and authentic characters in a Disney film. She is dealing with the grief of her parents dying in the only way she really knows how, which is she doesn't really know a way. She's very different. She doesn't really know how to make friends. And that's what a lot of kids are like. They're unpredictable. You know, no child fits into the cookie cutter mold. They're going to do things that are a little weird at times, especially when they're processing something that they don't really know how to process.
I completely agree. Which is why it's very difficult to watch the new one, especially of how much they took away from that concept.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about my dad about this. Are you guys familiar with the concept of slanderization?
Oh, of course. But why don't you go ahead and go in a little bit further for our listeners who may be not familiar with it?
Okay, one guy that's watching. So flanderization is the concept that over time, a character could start off with a personality and like a few funny character traits here and there, but over time, as people just forget about it, the character just eventually develops into those funny character traits. For example, as the name is based off, Flanders. He started off as a character who could get angry. He was also Christian, said funny things, but that wasn't his entire bit. And now in modern Simpsons, he is just funny and Christian, and that's about it.
You know, my favorite example of Flanderization is actually not Ned Flanders himself. It's Sandy from SpongeBob, who started off as a fun, dynamic female character and basically has turned into karate and science. And that's it.
I mean, it's a very kid-driven show, and they kind of need a plot device character that could just be like, okay, SpongeBob, here's a gadget, go make an episode.
True, but again, I feel that they really took away from Sandy's development like that. You know, it's just that was suddenly that's all she does, and it is really I feel lacking on the writers if they just that's the only thing they can think of to, start a plot line.
I mean, SpongeBob is an old show. They're going to run out of ideas eventually.
Oh, they've already been repeating ideas for years. Okay, so all right. But yes, so this came out in 2002, and of course, Disney has decided, you know what, we're sitting on this property, we might as well go ahead and remake it. I do think part of the other reason they wanted to add this to the live action remakes is that Stitch is one of the top 10 most profitable marketing campaigns that Disney has ever had. You know, everyone talks about the Disney princesses, the pirates, stuff like that. I don't think people realize just how massive Stitch is. You guys go to Disney World a lot. I know, well, not a ton, but you live down there. So I know you obviously are going to go more than me, who lives up here in the Midwest. How often do you see Stitch merch in the stores?
Constantly, and annoys the piss out of me.
Not a fan of it, huh?
No, Stitch is a good character. It's just a flannerization thing again. Nobody actually was smart enough to understand what they were watching, so Stitch is now just to everyone the funny guy who wrecks stuff.
Yeah. Pretty much. Did you guys? Okay, now I know. Obviously, you didn't see the trailers for this, but when it first came out, for obvious reasons. But did your dad show you guys the trailers for the animated Lilo and Stitch before you saw the movie?
I've seen a few trailers. I saw the one where he like kidnaps what's her name, Jasmine from
Oh, he
the.
doesn't kidnap Jasmine. She goes with him willingly.
Oh,
Yeah, that raises a lot of questions about that character. Yeah. Disney did these trailers where Stitch would crash iconic moments from other Disney movies. My favorite, I think, actually was the Beauty and the Beast one. The trailer starts with the epic ballroom scene of them dancing, and then you look up at the ceiling and Stitch is climbing on it, and he climbs onto the chandelier and it breaks and falls and nearly crashes on them.
Oh, yeah.
So and that really just kind of, they really wanted to bring forth this idea that Stitch was a very different character than what we had seen before. And with the 2025 release, they did something similar with a lot of the we didn't see him like crashing other advertisements, but they really wanted to show the idea of this reckless character. I think my favorite thing I saw was apparently they decided to TP Cinderella's castle in Disney World. Wait, Disney World's got Cinderella's castle, Disneyland's got Sleeping Beauties, right?
Yeah, I think I don't go to Disney enough.
I don't either. But yeah, they TP'd the castle.
Yeah.
And I just have this image in my head. It's like, which poor workers were basically handed like 20 rolls of toilet paper and told go nuts on the castle.
I don't know. I guess they would have to find like football players there. Like, not football,
Yeah, I
sorry.
know, right? It's like, I want to know. It's like, did they bring in cranes to bring them, to, wrap it around?
How good is that guy's? How good were those guys' forearms? Just like, I don't think the average guy who works at Disney can do that.
That's a good question. I would have loved to have seen how they got the workers to do that. If they were throwing it, or if they brought in cranes, or how they did it. All right.
It's kind of like they're getting on tangents. What were you trying to say?
Okay, so did your father take you to see the Snow White live action adaptation?
Yes.
What were your guys' thoughts on that?
Terrible.
Lily?
It's a bad movie.
I was agreeing. I just not a fan of it.
No. All right. And sorry, I had a message there. I had to take a look at that real quick. Okay, so after Snow White bombed as badly as it did, Disney announced that they were putting a halt on all of their live action adaptations. They were apparently in the process of developing Rapunzel and Hercules. And those are now on hold. But with Lilo and Stitch doing as well as it did, do you think that Disney is going to take this as a sign that they need to restart these movies? Lily, you've been pretty quiet here first. What do you think?
I feel like they're going to take a shot at it, and if whichever one they decide to do next really does fail, I think they definitely will stop, or they'll just do the other two and put them out there and then stop because they have nothing else in the works. So it's like, let's just throw out these two, and if it does well, great. If it doesn't do well, yeah, that's a sign we're done. That's what I think.
Okay, Jonas, what do you think?
I believe in hope. So I'm just going to hope that Disney is intelligent enough to know that just one success doesn't mean, let's pump out another 2 million of these. And also I hope eventually, like, the monster that is Disney is going to run out of stuff to change into it. And then going to have to make, like, new stuff to make live action. Which should slow down the process a lot, because then they have to, like, wait 20 years to use the nostalgia.
It goes because the movies that I think they actually would benefit from live action adaptation, they haven't touched. I want to see a live action Sword in the Stone. I mean, can you imagine how great that would look, especially with modern CGI for the Wizard's Duel?
There probably is a modern Sword in the Stone, not like Disney's version, but there probably is a live action rendition. I think I've seen a live action rendition of that.
Well, there have been live action renditions of the Tale of Arthur and the and Excalibur. Been plenty of movies based off of that. So, are there any? Okay, again, I know you guys haven't caught up on all the Disney films like I have because I'm a giant nerd who watches way too much TV. But are there any films that you two would want to see that were previously animated? You think would actually benefit, or if it was announced, you'd actually say, "Yeah, I want to see that."
Good question. So there isn't really one. I don't see the point in turning these into live action due to the fact that like you've already made the thing. Just go make something original. It's not that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could make a decent. I could probably, if you locked me in a room for like an hour or two, I could probably make an original concept for Disney to go off of.
Lock you in the room with an infinity amount of monkeys, and you'll come up with Shakespeare.
What? What are the monkeys being used for?
Ask your father about that reference. Ask your father about the infinite monkeys running on an infinite number of typewriters. He'll explain it to you later.
So, is it like one of those? I forget what it's called. It's like the Book of Exandria, where it's every single letter going on infinitely until they ended infinitely, and then it'll stop at like B, and it's theoretically create every single possible sentence.
It's something like that.
Yeah, it's like Book of is that what this is? Because infinity is hard to grasp.
It's not supposed to be that deep.
Okay, you told me about infinite monkeys. Where are my infinite monkeys, and what are they doing?
Apparently writing Shakespeare. That's not the point.
Are they like all putting in one letter? Monkeys don't know English.
Okay, what language are monkeys typing in?
They don't have a language. They just use noises that are supposed to represent like danger or something. Explain the infinite monkeys. Why do I want infinite monkeys?
Jonas, I love you so much. You are great.
Do I get my own typewriter, or am I one of the monkeys? Am I like the one person among the monkeys, like shepherding them? This doesn't make any sense.
Messaging Mark, we found your TikTok clip. Okay, all right. So, yes, we have our remake came out this past weekend, directed by Dean Fleischer Camp, who also created the Marcel the Shell with Shoes On short films, which they turned into a feature film, which was up for Best Animated Film a couple of years ago. Did either of you see Marcel the Shell with Shoes On?
No.
No.
All right. It's a very cute film. It's very cute. It's very quiet, but it's nice.
Okay.
It's very nice. It's sweet. It's a very sweet film. It's not like really derivative. It doesn't really make you think, but it's touching, you know?
Yeah.
So we got Maya Kealoha and Sydney Elizabeth Agudong, I think that's how you pronounce her name, playing Lilo and Nani, along with Courtney B. Vance, Zach Galifianakis, Hannah Waddington, Billy Magnuson, and Chris Sanders, who was able to take a break from directing The Wild Robot to come and revoice Stitch. Tell me your dad took you guys to see The Wild Robot.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. It's a very good movie.
Oh, I love that film. It was brilliant.
I freaked out the whole time because an actor I really liked was in it.
Dare I ask which one?
Kit Connor. He's in a show that I watched, and I like his acting and everything. So I like hearing him. I was like, oh my god.
Was he the voice of the goose?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah, this film has already grossed $361.2 million. It has become the fifth highest grossing film so far of 2025, which again leads me to think that Disney is going to say, okay, let's put production back on with Rapunzel and Hercules, and they're just going to pull the damn switch. All right. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about it. Lily, first of all, I just want to ask you, what were your main thoughts about this remake? What did you think?
Honestly, I was mostly wondering what things would change and what things would stay the same. Some of them, when I rewatched the old Lilo and Stitch, I was kind of annoyed they took out certain things. They took out an entire villain, which
Yeah,
I realized that and it really got to me.
Captain
And then,
Gantu, right.
yeah, they completely took him out.
I-
And then, but like, just in general, seeing what they could, like, how they can add or what they added was what interests me the most.
On account of the Captain Gantu thing, I don't really think he was important in either movies, even including theoretically. Like, he isn't really a character. Like, he had no plot development. It was just the lady who was leading the coalition of plants or whatever it is, just sent him out to deal with Stitch. Then he just dies. Well, he doesn't die. He just gets dealt with. Like, he's just a disposable big bad. It's not really anything special.
That's true. Captain Gantu is, I would say, more of a plot device than an actual villain. He's the one who needs to be there to kind of move the action along a little bit more. He does become a really great villain in the sequels and the TV series. Because this is Lilo and Stitch is a whole freaking franchise. It got 3 direct-to-video release sequels. It got a TV show. It got an anime and a manga.
Oh God.
Not a fan of anime and manga.
I mean, I like it. I just don't see why you have to turn it take some random American IP and then throw it into a Japanese thing. I had the same problem with the Rick and Morty anime.
You ever seen the Powerpuff Girls anime?
Oh God, no. Okay, why are these dweebs out here saying that everything needs to be an anime? It's just Japanese animation. It's nothing special. It's not anything different from just liking American animation. It's just saying I like animation, but specifically in one area. That's segregation, and I think dweebs are racist.
Oh.
Duly noted. Did either of you watch either of the sequels or the TV show at all?
No.
I did. I kind of assumed that no one ever watched them. Like, I assumed they were the weird direct-to-DVD movies that no one ever heard of, but are kind of canon, but not really.
The TV series was actually pretty popular. The idea being that Jumba had the number. Okay, so Stitch is Experiment 626, and the sequels in the show clarify that's not just a random number. He was the 626th experiment, and Jumba had created all these other experiments which got let loose on Hawaii, and they all had different properties that could be very destructive. And Lilo and Stitch was set out to define them.
I remember there was one called Ruben that was just, it was basically just all the powers of Stitch, but was kind of just a normal guy and ate sandwiches.
Yeah, he was lazy. Voiced by Rob Paulson, same guy who voiced Yakko Warner and Pinky from Pinky and the Brain, among others.
Wait, they played the same guy? They played Yakko and Pinky?
Yeah, that's Rob Paulson, one of the biggest voice actors of our current time.
On the same show? How did I never notice this?
Because he's that good.
Wow.
Yeah, trust me, you should see the man's IMDb list. He's pretty incredible.
All right, so we're going to get into the comparing and contrasting now.
Yeah, so we have Dr. Jumbo Jukiba, who is voiced by Zach Galifianakis this time. No Russian accent at this point. Lily, you look like you had something you wanted to say there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was something I did catch on. I heard somewhere, they took out his accent. I'm like, wait, he had an accent? Because I guess it never registered in me. And then watching it, I was like, oh, yeah, they did. It was one of those, that is one of those things that, felt so random to not include. Way.
It did feel, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jonas.
I'm pretty confident I know the reason why they didn't do it. It's
And
easier
that
to
is.
it's easier to find if you're an American studio. It's easier to find a guy with an American accent than a guy with a Russian accent, because people with Russian accents like that usually don't speak too much English.
Do you think that they should have tried for another accent? Maybe find another actor with another immigrant actor who could do a fun accent?
I don't think it really matters. I don't think the accent was an important part of the character. It added a little bit to the depth, but like that wasn't the main thing. If there was something I wanted them to add back into Jumba, like the accent is like the 10th thing I would think of.
Okay, fair point. But yeah, he's found guilty and imprisoned. 626 breaks out the exact same way as the animated film through the power of loogies. Oh, yeah, it's disgusting. And I really did need to see the loogies in live action. It's like, oh, thank you. It was disgusting enough in animation. Actually, seeing like the color composite of him spitting on the guard. It's like, I didn't need that.
This movie relies a lot on gross out humor because they didn't know like what actually made the original movie funny. Because everyone who worked on this was an idiot. Said was as if they're dead is an idiot.
Fair point. All right, so Stitchy Six escapes, uses the police cruiser. He took the red one, and manages to use his hyperdrive to reach Earth and crashes it on the Hawaiian island of Kauai. So the councilwoman tells Jumba she'll give him his freedom if he can recapture 626 and pairs him with Agent Pleakley, who just, I guess, shows up dressed as a cowboy. That was an interesting choice.
Yeah, wait. So, like, in his room, what was he doing at the time? That's my question.
He makes a joke about how he says something like, "I'm studying the species. It's half cow, half boy." It's very interesting, and I get that joke, but at the same time, just like, and I don't know.
Yeah, isn't he supposed to like be an expert on Earth? Why would he assume that a cowboy is like a weird hybrid? Just like I don't know. You point at the screen as if you had like a rebuttal to that.
No, more just like tiny detail that actually in the original there was also a whole thing with mosquitoes. Like he was very like that's what he focused on was mosquitoes. And they
that's a joke I really hate that they dropped. First of all, I still remember first time I saw the movie, it's like, we're using Earth to rebuild the mosquito population. And I just remember going, oh my God, are you kidding me? And you have the scene where he gets attacked by the mosquitoes and that payoff at the end with Cobra Bubble saying, it's like, oh yeah, I convinced these aliens that mosquitoes were an endangered species. Again, I thought that was a brilliant joke. Great payoff and set up, great payoff, great punchline.
I did think the bit with the black guy was funny, but I don't think Pleakley getting attacked by mosquitoes was very interesting. It was definitely one of those jokes that it threw in to appeal to like children, so that they had a reason to come.
Yeah, I laugh pretty hard just because I'm kind of a mosquito magnet. I blame the fact that I'm half German, and apparently German blood is just very tasty to mosquitoes because my mother, who is full German, gets attacked by them all the time. So seeing the mosquitoes go all over him, I was like, oh yeah, that looks familiar. But yeah, so 66 crash lands and decides to attack a wedding before being taken to the animal shelter this time.
Completely random scene. I feel like that was just I know I say this a lot, but that definitely feels like they just need to make sure that the kids got like a scene of Stitch doing funny Stitch stuff and not like anything important.
That's true. It also leads to, I don't know if this is something you guys would have picked up on, but it's something I noticed is that the editing in this film is very haphazard. So many of the takes are very quick, very fast. And I feel like they don't let the movie sit on a shot for very long to let you kind of absorb the moment.
I've actually heard this point before. It wasn't mine. It was by this one guy called Danny Mata saying the exact same thing.
I like Danny Mata. I watch him for his Hell of a Boss reviews. He's funny. He's a funny guy.
I mean, I like the other stuff he did. Yeah. Um, so he, and his words, not mine, was that it seemed like it was directed by a crackhead.
Well, I'm not going to call Fleischer Camp a crackhead, but I can understand his point. So we're also introduced to Lilo, who takes a much more active role in, taking on the bully Myrtle, and gets kicked out of Hula. And she is dealing with the fact that, like we mentioned, their parents, she and her sister Nani's parents, have passed away. They mention how they died in this movie? I don't think that
No.
was.
Yeah, they never mentioned it, but if I remember correctly, in the original, they got in a car crash.
Yeah, they said it was raining and they wrecked their car. So, but again, they just allude to their death in this one. They never actually talk about it. And I can't decide if it's like, were you just assuming we all remembered that emotional scene from the first movie, or do you just not care?
I don't think the explanation for the parents' death matters. Like, I guess, like, okay, it depends. Does Disney want to make a live action version of this to appeal to like nostalgia, or do they want to make something else? I guess what Disney was going for was make something slightly different than what they originally had. So you can just take that out, and if you're not trying to make the exact same thing all over again, then you can just take it out. Doesn't matter.
That is the $64 million question with these live action adaptations, who was this made for? Is this made for nostalgia buffs who, grew up watching Lilo and Stitch? Is this made for new audiences so they can watch this instead of watching the 2002 Lilo and Stitch? Same thing with Snow White. It's like, who is this live action Snow White made for? The live action Little Mermaid, who is that made for? All of these live actions, like, who are you pandering to? Are you trying to get the people who grew up with these animated films? And it's like, oh, yeah, this is a part of my childhood. Of course I identify with this. Are you trying to get younger audiences who aren't familiar with this, who want to be introduced to this kind of a thing? Jonas, you said, you're talking about that, Lily. Who do you think this targets?
I think for certain people, it really depends on the movie. I think certain movies, I know for certain changes, like with The Little Mermaid, they were trying to get little girls who look like the actress that played The Little Mermaid to come see it because they love mermaid films, so seeing a lady that looks like them helps. So a lot of movies, I think, try and get specific people to watch. Like if the Hercules one came out, it would attract a lot of Greek mythology people who like the original Hercules, or people who like Greek mythology. Those people would mostly make fun of it. But
I was going to say, like, yeah, they'd make fun of how, how horribly they adapted the Legend of Hercules.
Exactly.
I mean, nobody really did that for the original, and that's a terrible adaptation of what happened to him.
Agreed. Let's face it, the only good thing about the animated Hercules movie was James Woods as Hades. And he still, to this day, I think, remains one of the top 10 best Disney villains of all time, just because of how all the character he brought to that role. It's like, he's not like the most evil, even though he's the god of the dead, but James Wood just injected so much of his character into that. And it really made a lasting impression on that. So that's the thing I really like about him. Okay, so yeah, we got Lilo. We have their social worker, who is not Cobra Bubbles this time. It's Miss Kakoa. Interestingly enough, played by Tia Carrere, who voiced Nani in the animated film. So we kind of got a scene of Nani talking to Nani.
I think Cobra Bubbles not being the social worker makes a lot more sense than him being it, because like, what was the explanation? The explanation was that he used to be CAA. Like, being in the CIA doesn't also come with a degree in I don't know, I guess child study. I don't know what you need to be a social worker.
I'm trying to remember exactly what the field is for working as being a social worker. I know there is a specific field for it because someone actually suggested I study that in college, and I said I do not have the emotional stamina to tell a parent that they need to, give up their child. Can't do that. You know, credit to those who are able to, stand up and do the right thing, even in the face of those kind of emotions, because I cannot do that. But Miss Kikoa, she tells Nani that she needs to take these steps to uh, prove that she is fit to take care of Lilo as a full time. And we were also given an extra plot that was not in the animated film that apparently Nani got accepted into a marine biology study in, I think it's San Diego, if I remember correctly. I think that's what it is on the pamphlet. Which again, that wasn't a thing, and I really didn't understand the point
Yeah,
of
I feel
adding
like
this in.
if anything, I feel like it just takes away from from like what the characters end up having. Like at the end of the original, it's like okay, they can finally be a happy family together. Like, what's the point of that if they can't be a happy family together because the girl's going off to college? I guess the explanation was that she had like portal to them, but like still, she's going out to college. She's not with her the daughter, their daughter sister.
Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted on it myself. Because on one hand, I understand what Disney's trying to do. They are trying to say that Nani and all girls, all children, should push themselves further. That if they are given an opportunity to better themselves, to, make the world a better place, that they should take it. But I feel that conflicts with the message of the original Lilo and Stitch, which is that Nani and Lilo want to be a family.
Mm.
So it's like, well, and again, it's like, well, they're still a family, even though she's going to school. I'm like, yeah, but again, that's not really what they were focusing on in the original.
Mm. The focus was closer. The focus had nothing to do with Nani trying to become like more stable. It was just to keep her sister daughter. Like it was nothing. There's nothing about like, oh, I want to live this great life. It was always I want best for Lilo.
Yeah. Lily,
Well,
I've been told you're a feminist. What do you think? Do you think this idea that Nani needed to be changed to go study something, or do you think they should have nixed it and she should have just stayed and been a parental guardian to her sister?
Oddly enough, I think I would have preferred if they kept her as the parental older sister figure for Lilo, because it does like help reinstate that theme of family and how important family is, and honestly, that adding the college thing kind of messes with that, because it's true that by the end of the movie, everyone's a family. Like, even the aliens are family. And it's like, if she's gone half the time, there's a common theme, especially in like media, that when a sibling goes off to college, the bridge between them, as the two siblings, like widen, like it separates them more. So that definitely would mess with it and not work out in the way that with the theme of family wouldn't work out if one's off constantly. So even with that ability to see each other, it's harder.
So, speaking of what you said about the aliens being family, I don't think that makes like an ounce of sense to have them be like friends at the end of this. They had no like the closest thing to them like reconvening was Gumba, what's his name?
Chumba.
Shumba. It was like, okay, I guess I'll help them. Shrugged, and then like you can't. And he was trying to murder them 10 seconds ago. You can't just like walk off and be like, yeah, we're friends now, right? Even though I almost tried to kill a 6-year-old.
I think it
Steal her pet.
works. Yeah, I think it works in a cartoon sense. I think it's easier to kind of forgive them, especially because in the animated film, he does take the steps to help rescue Lilo from Captain Gantu.
Yeah, and it makes even less sense. And actually, I think I think the explanation in the live action is much better. Just saying that Gumba's dead. Jumba? Yeah, Jumba. Jumba's dead, and Peakley has to supervise Earth. That makes way more sense than they're just here now. They're friends.
True, but how would you feel about suddenly finding out that you're going to have an alien living with you in your house?
Depends. What kind of alien is it?
It's Pleakley.
I mean, I feel like I would stab him. And then, like, we don't have laws against aliens. So, like, it's dead. Also, police dogs won't be able to track the scent of something that they don't know about. So if I just, like, dragged Peakley into a forest, then, it's dead. It's gone. Also, he doesn't have, like, relatives on Earth because he's an alien. So, like, no one's going to, like, call the police and be like, oh, no, my son's missing because, his mom's not on the planet.
Lily, you might want to start sleeping with the lights on.
Thinking that.
Yeah. Well, this also brings up another character that was added to this remake, their neighbor, who's played by comedian Amy Hill, who's usually pretty funny. I've seen her in a lot of stuff. I don't like to say, but she usually gets typecast as the Asian stereotype character, but she's funny. Yeah, she's funny. She's not a terrible actress. And apparently she looks after Lilo quite a bit already. And it's like at the end, it's like, well, why doesn't she just live here? It's like, how has this not been brought up before? It's like, did you guys just really just now think, oh, why doesn't she watch Lilo?
I mean, yeah. These guys also this brings up a really big plot hole in the movie. Is the Hawaiian system for child adoption really strange because they won't give a 6-year-old to a 16-year-old. Like, I guess we don't know when their parents died. It could be like a month or two ago.
I think they mentioned that's actually a change. In the animated film, it was supposedly pretty recently. They mention in the live action, it was a couple of years ago.
Okay, and if she's college age, she's like 18 or 19. If it's a few years ago, that's at least 2. And they wouldn't give a 4-year-old to a 16-year-old to care after. That's just not how that works. So if the adoption system were to function correctly, realistically, she wouldn't be caring for Lilo.
That's very true. In the animated film, they never say how old Nani is. I always assumed that she was 19, 20, not a student, obviously, but not very old.
I'm going to look it up.
So I thought it made more sense. But yeah, if Nani is like 19 at the oldest and the parents died a few years ago, it's like, well, shouldn't they both have been in the system? Shouldn't they both have had like someone acting as their guardian?
Yeah. So Nani's 18.
Okay.
So yeah, then this doesn't make a lot of sense.
It really doesn't.
Also,
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's cool.
This is a lot of just nitpicking about realism in a movie about aliens, but nobody decided to send Stitch off to the government. You saw a weird blue thing, and then it was spikes coming out of it, and your first thought wasn't go investigate it. It was send it to an animal shelter. Well, who did this?
That's true. Again, he's got 6 arms, spikes coming out of his back, antenna. And they even comment on that in the live action film. I guess I always kind of got the impression in the animated film, they literally did not know what else to do. So they were just holding him in the animal shelter till they figured things out.
Somebody I mean, like, somebody must have seen that and, like, tried to do something. Like, you can't find. I should probably stop nitpicking something that's meant for children, but, like, still, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, that's part of the problem with with adaptations like this, is that there's a lot of things that in cartoon form you can kind of just be like, shrug your shoulders. Perfect example is Jumba and Pleakley's human disguises in the animated film. Because, yeah, obviously no one with a brain is going to look at someone with one eye and someone with four eyes and think, oh, they're just weird looking humans. But and they knew that, and that's why we've got them with the human disguises. I guess they're like holograms. And
I don't think that's why they did that. I think they would have been willing to just make it like really cartoony with the disguises. I think the real reason that they did this was to cut the budget so that they didn't have to animate all the CGI characters.
I've heard people say that's the other reason they cut Gontu. But for the record, this only was $100 million budget, which seems like a lot, but a lot of these Disney adaptations usually have something like $150 million. So this wasn't low budget, but it was much lower than what Disney usually gives. And it's possible that part of that was they said, okay, well, we can do this and decrease the budget. But again, do you think this movie would have been better if we had seen Jumba and Pleakley in their alien form with their human disguises?
I think just due to how poorly sorry, that sounds weird. Due to how poorly they wrote Jumba and Pleakley's characters, I don't think they really had to, because like, why does it keep echoing? Weird.
I don't know, but there is definitely an echo. I'm not sure. Maybe you've got a little feedback on your end, but it's not distracting. Lily, is it distracting you?
Wait, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You have no idea the audio difficulties we've dealt with other recordings. I still remember at least one. We were getting repeated feedback from their microphone, so it wasn't just an echo, it was an echo of us as well. So it sounded terrible. So no, this is fine, don't worry.
So Jumba and Pleakley weren't as interesting looking characters in this movie as they were in the original, meaning that there wasn't that many like reason to like continue to look at their design. Because one thing I liked about the original was I thought Jumba and Pleakley were fun to look at
in their human disguises.
No, just the character design alone.
Okay, just the character design. I gotcha.
Was fun to see, but like in this movie, they're just like weird CGI abominations.
They are pretty weird looking, and the CGI is not that great, especially on the councilwoman. When during the scene where she's talking to them on the beach, I remember looking, and going, "Wow, you guys did not render this long enough. It looks terrible." And so there's a fun little story also with Pleakley in drag, wearing the dresses and stuff in the animated film. His voice actor, Kevin McDonald, I seriously doubt this, but for the sake of not repeating the virtual boy argument that Jonas and I went through during the Scott Pilgrim episode, I will go and ask, are either of you familiar with the show called The Kids in the Hall?
No.
That's fine. It is way before your time, early 90s. It was a sketch comedy show. I believe it came out of Canada. Kevin McDonald was one of the actors on it. That was kind of his claim to fame for a while. Pretty funny. Ran on MTV way back in the day. And one of the jokes with Kids in the Hall is that it was 5 guys. And so a lot of times that they had female characters, it was the guys dressing in drag, kind of like Monty Python, you know? It was just, okay, it's like, we need a female character for this. Oh, just slap a dress and a wig on us. That's fine, you know? It was part of the fun of the characters. So Kevin McDonald would often play female characters on the Kids in the Hall for the sketches. So having Pleakley dress in drag was kind of a nice little callback to his old roles on the show. So a lot of people were just like, Kevin McDonald did drag again. You know, that was part of the fun. And apparently there was an interview that the director, Dean Fleischer Camp, gave, because he has been asked multiple times, why didn't we get to see Pleakley in drag? And he actually said, guys, I tried. And he showed concept art that showed Pleakley in a wig and a dress that never got utilized. So I don't know. Maybe they were afraid of making somebody. Okay, who is doing what to their
I'm
microphone?
80% sure it's Lily. Lily, please stop moving the computer.
She's not touching anything. That's not me.
God.
That's a weird noise. Okay, it stopped.
I think it's I think it's the sound of like the rustling of like bed. Mixed it with the poor audio. Oh God, why? Mixed with the poor audio quality.
It's okay. It's okay. It's not like ruining the podcast or anything. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, or if there's something we can fix here. So it's, whatever it is, we'll deal with it. It's, if it's annoying whoever is still listening to us, I apologize for any audio issues we may be dealing with. But going back to what I was saying, it's possible that Disney was afraid of, making the wrong people mad by having Pleakley in drag, because apparently a man dressing in drag is no longer a joke.
I mean, it really isn't at this point. You guys say that as an anti-authority thing, but it's kind of like the people who take drag seriously's fault for doing that. Because when you think about it, if let's take RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm not saying it's a bad show, like with bad messages.
Of course.
But what I am saying is that if this was never taken as like a serious like art form or a way of expression, it would no longer be a joke. It would still be a joke to have a guy dressed as a girl, but now that's like a common thing that people do. It's not as much of a joke because you're kind of talking about actual people out there that people have respect for now.
Absolutely. Again, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but Pleakley in drag, I think, is just a thing that needed to happen. I would have liked at least one scene of either Pleakley still as an alien or the actor, what the heck was his name? Billy Magnuson, joking about like trying to try on human clothing. I mean, how many times have we seen that the person who doesn't understand the concept of human clothing or clothing just of this culture and puts on the wrong gender's outfits? I mean, I think nearly every fictional story has done that at one point or another.
Really? I feel like I've only ever seen that with Pleakley.
There's actually a joke in one of the Harry Potter novels where you see a wizard who they're telling these wizards in which they need to dress in Muggle clothing, and there's a wizard running around in a floral nightgown.
That's funny.
And they're just like, that's not what you're supposed to wear. And he's like, I don't care. I like it. So, but yeah, I did, like I said, I wanted to talk about the lack of Pleakley in drag because I did think that was an important part that they got.
I wouldn't refer to it as important. It's not like a big character trait. It's closer to a funny gag that they had than like something I would consider important to the plot. Like if Pleakley didn't dress in drag, it wouldn't be like the movie's falling apart. It doesn't make any sense now. It would just be there's not a joke anymore.
Lily, are you holding up your hand because you have something to say, or are you just showing off what those deadly weapons that you got attached to your fingers there? Because damn, girl, those are killer.
Thank you.
I know they're not real, but those things look like she could take your eyes out with them. I mean, seriously, those are deadly.
Thank you. I was thinking, well, I think what Jonas is saying, I think the whole drag thing, I think, was actually a big part with Pleakley, because he clearly was attached to his wig in the animated one. Like, we see
Yeah,
him
you're right. There's that scene where they're camping and he's putting on the wig, and there's like, what are you doing? Nothing.
Yeah, and I think, and I generally think that, like, I think now people would look at Pleakley doing drag and would think he's just a drag queen, and we can live with that. That's good. I think that's it.
Sorry.
I think
Sure.
it would less upset people and more be like, hey, he's doing what we do. And he clearly likes it. Good for him.
I don't think Peakley being attached to the wig is a drag queen thing. I'm pretty sure that was used to represent his obsession with the Earth culture, as like having hair that looks like that specifically is half the population. At least like it's a fraction of the half of the population, but that's besides the point. So that it's kind of like well, you're into like a lot of like weird Japanese stuff, right? It's kind of like when you try to like do that, like you're not necessarily like one of those things. You're just interested in it and thus trying it out.
I mean, I guess, but if Pleakley is obsessed with is really interested in the human culture, drag is a part of the human culture, so
Yes, I never
they go
denied it.
all hand in hand. So it could be he loves the human culture, and a part of it that he likes is the drag aspect. It could be that.
Did not know when I agreed to host this tonight we were going to get a discussion on cultural appropriation thanks to Bleakley the alien.
I believe that I believe that if so substantially you're stealing culture from another planet, I don't even like necessarily stealing culture, like taking other people's cultures from other like continents. Another planet is on another level. My God.
Maybe we should move on. Okay, so yeah, we have a lot of the same antics from the animated film. We have Nani losing her job at the luau. This time because Lilo and Stitch accidentally set a table on fire because Stitch decided he wanted to try that fire stick dance. That looks so cool. Another fun fact: the cameo, the boss of the luau, the guy with those angry glasses, that was the original voice actor of David.
Oh, that's
David
cool.
Scott Lee.
Nice.
Yeah. Again, like little things. I think the only actor they couldn't get to reprise his role was the original voice actor for Cobra Bubbles, Ving Rhames, because he was in Mission Impossible this weekend, so he was probably busy filming.
Huh? Did he play Luther? Did he play Luther?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. No, I love Ving Rhames. He's an awesome actor. He's got like the most imposing authoritarian voice on the planet.
Really?
I love it.
He sounds soft. Like his voice just sounds cuddly. Like I wouldn't call it imposing.
I don't know. When I hear him as Cobra Bubbles and he's got kind of that growl to it, just, it's like, in case you were wondering, this did not go well. Just that deep, almost scary voice, just the way he says it was like, yeah, I thought it was pretty intimidating.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, apparently he was filming Mission Impossible, so he couldn't make a cameo in this. So we have Nani looking for work, and Lilo and Stitch keep messing things up until Nani finds a job surfing. And that was something else I thought was weird, is that they talk so much about surfing being her passion, which was actually carried over from the animated film. I don't know if you guys caught this, but it's something that a lot of people noticed, that in the animated film, when they show Nani's room, you could see it's covered with surfing trophies. So you kind of get this idea that she was an outstanding high-class surfer before the accident. And maybe that's what she gave up to take care of Lilo. And here, they actually point out, it's like, oh yeah, her room used to be filled with tons of again, this movie is very guilty of violating the cardinal rule of films: show, don't tell. But again, they show her getting this job as a surf instructor and talking about how that's her passion. But again, if that's her passion, then where's the marine biology thing come in?
I think they threw that in just so that little girls out there have someone to look up to, and to drive the further notion in modern American culture, which I do not disagree with, that women should be like going to college, is getting a job, that type of thing. So I think it was Disney trying to support that by throwing it into one of their movies.
Well, here's a question for you guys. What if instead the film simply had Nani trying to reconnect with her love of surfing? And that's the thing she ends up, trying to balance with her taking care of Lilo. What if she wanted to continue being a professional surfer? Maybe there was like a surfing tour, for like professional athletes kind of a thing.
That would probably work better with the plot of Lilo and Stitch, but with what Disney's trying to push, it wouldn't work as well because surfing's not like an office job. Surfing, you can't go to college and get like a master's in surfing.
No, but there are professional surfers who do make money off of it.
Yes, but
professional athletes.
But the concept is that women should be doing what men are doing, and the average man isn't doing surfing.
The average man's not doing marine biology either.
Fair, but it's science, which is for smart people, and it's also pushing another thing. I feel like I have to say this every time I mention this. I do not disagree with this. That women should be highly intelligent people doing highly intelligent things, like science.
Okay. Again, it's just a thought. I wanted to hear what you guys thought. Lily, anything to add there?
All
right. So, yes, Nani gets the job. Unfortunately, she and Stitch and Lilo get into an accident because Jumbo and Pleakley rent out a freaking ski boat and try to take them out on a wave, which, yeah, that doesn't look suspicious at all. No one else saw that. And then Lilo ends up in the hospital, and then Nani realizes the thing that scares like 90% of this population. Oh crap, I don't have health insurance. And the social worker says, I guess that it's like, well, if you surrender guardianship of her, then the state will take over and we'll pay all the bills and everything, and you don't have to worry about a thing. Because I don't know if you two have ever seen a uninsured hospital bill, but it's it'll give you a heart attack and put you right back in the hospital. And so now Nani is thinking it's probably better she gives up guardianship of Lilo. At this time, the councilwoman fires Pleakley and Jumba decides he's just going to go and get 626 himself. So he takes his portal gun and goes after him.
Which real quick, all the gadgets and stuff feels so random in this movie. Like they weren't in the original. Like it was just like space guns. Now they have like portals and stuff, and like
it was a plasma cannon. Yeah, it was just a plasma cannon that he used against him. So
I feel like they wanted a portal gun just so they could make just so that they can have it end with her going to college and also being able to say Lilo. So I feel like they just threw that in just for that to happen.
And getting that weak joke of Jumbo getting stuck going through the portal holes, which if anyone has played Portal, they've done that. And then he guilt trips Stitch into going with him on the ship by pointing out, it's like, you don't actually love this girl. You just used her for a human shield. It's like, yeah, duh. We all know that.
It kind of hurt. I guess I see where I see what he's doing. He's manipulating Stitch by bringing up the bad thing he did, and making it sound even worse than as bad as he possibly can.
Yeah. And again, this really does also drive back to Jumba's change. He is doing this because it's not for his freedom, it's because his lab is going to be destroyed. And he wants to take Stitch back and remove his compassion unit and turn him into Experiment 627, which I believe was a character in the animated series. I think they actually did get that right with the silhouette with the cone head.
My question is, why did he put compassion in this thing? It's supposed to be a monster.
I'm guessing he just didn't realize it was in there, you know? It's like when you bake and you accidentally realize you added too much sugar. It's like,
Oh.
oops, okay, next time I'll check my measurements.
Yeah. Also, Jumba's supposed to be so smart. There's no way he would have to go for like the 627 tries of this thing to get it right.
I'm sorry. Are you a genetic engineer?
Yes.
So you're saying that you could engineer a being like Stitch in one try?
I mean, if the like the Space Council place already had like laws, every law has a story. So if they have laws against like genetic engineering, then that means there has to be like relatively common genetic engineering. So if I was in like the Space Coalition with access to all the genetic engineering, they can probably just start with all those resources and all the discoveries that other scientists have made. I'll probably be able to make an killable monster pretty easily.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to follow that. And they really upped the evil of Jumba. In the original, the house is destroyed just in the ensuing battle between Jumba and Stitch. In this one, Jumba just starts destroying the hell of the house for the hell of it. He's just shooting randomly.
I mean, I guess his hope was that like he would accidentally hit Stitch, but
I don't know. Again, I understand cutting Captain Gantu, whether it was for budgetary reasons or story reasons. I've heard some interviews saying that it was necessary to cut him because they needed more time to focus on Nani and Lilo being sisters. So if that's the argument, I can't argue against it. But I just don't see Jumba as the villain. And I just don't think it works.
it really doesn't. But like, it's going to be way too difficult to animate like an 8-foot-tall like shark monster. So like, and they have to have Jumba in it, so might as well make him the bad guy because he kind of was already in the movies. So
Well, it's also partially from the way that Zach Galifianakis plays him. I'm not a fan of him as an actor as a whole, but frankly, I just didn't really see him or hear his voice and think evil.
yeah, he sounded just weird. Like Jumba in the original gave off like, I don't want to use that term. It's weird. It felt like a mad scientist mixed with the Red Guardian from the MCU.
Good
So like
comparison.
that doesn't fit well with just like a wacky guy. It's like 100 supercomputers. Like what? It sounds so wrong.
It kind of felt like he was sleepwalking through the role. Just like you get the feeling that he just showed up on stage like, okay, what am I supposed to do?
It kind of sounds like he's. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say it kind of sounds like he's held up at gunpoint. Like
Possibly.
100 supercomputers. Please don't shoot me.
So we have Lilo sneaks aboard the ship with them. She helps crash it. Stitch and her manage to escape, but they end up in the water. And of course, Stitch cannot swim. That is his fatal flaw. And so he sacrifices himself to let Lilo escape the water. And Nani goes back and saves him. And they start his heart with car batteries.
Which actually, a defibrillator
Defibrillator,
has more power in it than a car battery, so that didn't make any sense. So
how do you know that?
I've heard stuff about how a defibrillator can bring you back to life, but if a car battery can like only lightly shock you, like it's like touching someone with static, like if defibrillator should be, and if defibrillator can bring you back to life, that means very obviously defibrillator has more energy stored in it.
Okay. Adding that to random things I did not think I would hear tonight. And at this point, the Grand Councilwoman shows up, and Stitch makes his plea, showing that he has developed a conscience and he has found his heart. And this, I think, is actually another one of the weakest points, is that they cut the adoption paperwork.
Oh
Yeah, I thought it was funny that Lilo just became a lawyer at the end. That's how she saved the day.
Because again, it's the councilwoman says they are bound by their rules. They're bound by their laws.
Yeah.
And the adoption paper says, well, this is the law now. And she realizes, okay, I have to obey this. It's a freaking bureaucracy.
Like, what are we watching, Better Call Saul? I definitely find it entertaining that, like, how did she remember that? Just, isn't Lilo like an autistic 6-year-old? How did she think to make sure that they knew that she technically owns this animal?
In the animal, okay, first of all, I don't know if she's autistic or not, but it's entirely possible. But in the animated film, Cobra Bubbles is there, and he reminds her. And luckily, she had the document in her pocket.
Yeah.
So,
wait, so was Cobra Bubbles just stalking her the entire time, like the dog?
Yeah, no. When she's training Stitch during the animated movie, he's in the background a couple of times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's mostly like to keep an eye on Nani, but also like he's suspicious of Stitch.
Cobra Bubbles is a creepy guy. Spying on a 6-year-old? Jesus.
Well, that actually does bring a point, because again, he's the social worker, so you could argue that he's taking an interest in this case, but you could also argue he's seen aliens, and he knows, he's like, I don't know what the hell Stitch is, but I know he's not from Earth, so he's probably he might be following Stitch, trying to keep an eye on him. I mean, there's an interesting argument for either side of that.
I mean, if he was stalking her while she was getting the receipt, so like that would mean he somehow like sensed a disturbance in the force and immediately went over to check out the alien thing. So I guess maybe he was like stalking whoever buys Stitch.
Maybe it's just he knows that if you adopt a dog from the animal shelter, you have to get the form. You know, or it is a giant Deus Ex Machina, and who cares?
Oh.
I don't know. But again, I thought that was a really good idea. For the ending, and they cut it, and now it is Pleakley and Cobra's word to the councilwoman that they will take care of Stitch and make sure that no one else discovers there's a freaking alien living in Hawaii.
How don't you discover that? Like, I don't know if they ever did this plot in the show, but like, no one's ever seen this and then try to kidnap Stitch to send him to the government to figure out what monster they acquired.
Again, it's one of those things that I think works as a cartoon, but not as live action. It goes back to what we were talking about with the human disguises. In cartoons, things like that are a lot more easily believable. In live action, yeah. How are not more people saying, why is your dog blue?
Yeah, why is it always, I don't think that's a dog. Like, is Lilo so weird that they just kind of went with it? Like, did they think that Lilo genetically modified something?
Well, I don't know. According to you, genetic engineering is easy.
Okay, well, if I had the resources at hand, I could probably figure it out.
I just wanted someone to call him a koala. That's all I wanted. Just someone to look at Stitch and go,
now, Lily, I would call Stitch literally anything but a koala, just so you will never get the satisfaction.
Okay, Nani literally calls him an evil koala.
Yeah, but that was in the original, not the new one.
That's what I mean.
And you're never going to hear that he could be a koala again. I'm sorry, it's never happening.
Sorry, you'll have to get your koala fix somewhere else, I guess. Okay, so Stitch is allowed to remain on Earth. Pleakley is going to stay behind to keep an eye on them. Cobra Bubbles is, I guess, going to stay with them and make sure that the CIA doesn't find out, because I guess now it's just like he's just going to hang out with his family in Hawaii or something.
I guess he'll like come by every once in a while, but because Lilo at the end of that movie mentioned, yeah, he's scary. He comes by every once in a while.
Yeah, I guess so. Just randomly shows him hanging out with Pleakley on the couch watching a movie.
Yeah. Wait, so like he showed up there to make sure that the weird alien thing isn't going going insane, and he ended up just watching a movie with the weird alien thing. So he has some weird like morals going on. Like if he feels a need to check up on this guy, I don't believe that you trust him to watch a movie.
Well, so now the neighbor is going to, I guess, adopt Lilo so Nani can go study marine biology, and she's got the portal gun so she can commute and go home whenever she wants. So this whole thing was a non-issue to begin with, and movie ends.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God, without baiting for a sequel, although we all know Disney's going to try to make a sequel to this.
There's no way. Like, what are they going to do? There was no Lilo and Stitch 2, I hope.
They made a Maleficent 2. Do you really have to worry about that? They made a Mufasa prequel. Disney finds a way.
I mean, the Mufasa prequel is already a thing. I think there was a book about that.
Maybe. Not sure. All right. So we have gone over and we have sat in the comparisons. Lily, you have been a little more quiet tonight. So I am going to turn to you for closing arguments, final thoughts, anything you would like to say?
There were a lot of jokes, like little bits in the animated movie that were never brought over in the live action, which really caught me off guard. Because like Elvis is such like a huge thing in the animated one, but he's only mentioned like once in the live action one, which definitely was another one of those. Oh, that out of all the things to check out, why is that?
So
just like
a
they
lot
took
of
out that just. I think for me, taking out a lot of the jokes made like it was confusing. Like it made think like, oh, it was because you couldn't. They might not want to copy it word for word, but there were some jokes that like everyone remembers, but they still took them out. Always.
So a lot of the Elvis stuff was easier to animate because it was animation. It was cartoony. It didn't need to look real. But now that it's CGI, it's harder to animate Stitch doing all this stuff. And also, remember, a lot of the bits were like physical, and it's hard to animate stuff with CGI like that. It's not impossible, but it probably wouldn't look very good. So it's easier to just cut it.
We did get the one shot at the in the sort of credits where we see him in the full Elvis getup, because I think if they didn't include at least one shot of that, the fans would have been really mad. Mm-hmm. But again, it kind of feels like see, we threw that in there, and it just like they didn't know why it was important. Just like it's in there.
We did the thing.
Oh, also, Stitch reading the Ugly Duckling book in the anime movie never happened in the live action one, and that really bothered me.
A lot of fans have expressed anger about that.
Yeah, because it's like that book helps him realize, oh, I'm going through the same thing as him, and she kind of has a similar thing. Like he connects to the book, and later on remembers that part in the book, and it's like, here, this is me. But it's like it kind of, but like it's never talked about in the live action one, which I don't even know what they replaced it with. It just
They haven't replaced it with anything. It just wasn't there.
But that's the thing. It's like they took out this thing that was supposed to be pretty like important, and
I mean, I think they wanted to substitute all the Stitch stuff, all the Lilo and Stitch stuff, for Lilo and Nani stuff, which is why we didn't get that. So if they were to be more accurate, we probably would have gotten that. But I think in this movie, they want to take it as an opportunity to explore the characters of Lilo and Nani, not like the dynamic with Lilo and Stitch.
That's a good argument. That is a good argument. Because, yeah, they do try to spend a lot more time with Lilo and Nani together. And I think it does hurt the pacing and the development of Stitch as a character.
Yeah, because by the end of it, they still have to do all the stuff with Stitch. And then, like, what's the point? Because, they didn't really do anything with the character. But in this movie, he really doesn't have a character. So, it doesn't really matter that much, I guess.
Yeah. So, any more thoughts from either of you? Jonas, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I think Stitch is an Industry Planet character. Like, I think in the original, they wrote him to be good, but, like, no one, I think I said this around the beginning, but no one was actually intelligent enough to figure out what it was about. So now Stitch is just the funny guy who runs around and breaks stuff and is furry and says the thing every once in a while. Like, nobody actually understood why his character was good. So now that we're here, his entire character is just being fluffy and weird.
So cute and fluffy.
That line is good in the original, but it's like the most annoying thing in the new one.
Fair enough. Well, it doesn't change the fact that the Disney parks are still going to be full of Stitch merchandise. We are going to see. You guys know I'm a Comic-Con vendor, and you would not believe the amount of artists I see who do so much work on drawings of Stitch. And they put them in all it's like, here's a drawing of Stitch's Wolverine. Here's a drawing of Stitch's Spider-Man. Here's a drawing of Stitch's Superman. Just crazy amounts of Stitch merch. He is still insanely popular, and this movie is just gonna make him even more popular.
The people who do that can't have original thoughts. So the reason, so they like Lilo and Stitch because other people said good things about it, and then they thought, okay, they're correct. I'll agree with that. So now everyone loves Lilo and Stitch, but because they didn't really come up with it, they don't know why. And then they just kind of remember that it was something about how good Stitch was. And they thought, well, what did I like about Stitch? He was funny and cute looking. Oh, I know. What people liked about this movie, what made it good, was that Stitch was cute. Let's make the cute guy do the funny thing. And then those people went on to go make all the art.
Is cute, and there are multiple scenes in this movie. I would argue that it's his cuteness that is the only thing that keeps it afloat.
In my favorite game, Twisted Wonderland, they have an event with Stitch, and this was way before This is way before the movie even came into became huge, like way before. And in it, there's like two very chaotic characters who immediately connect with Stitch, not because he's cute, but because he's chaos. And there's a rule follower in the bunch who's like, I don't know how I feel about this Stitch. I don't understand. And the others are like, he's chaos, we love it. And also Gantu is somehow in it. So, but like, that's another thing that got me, is somehow this thing managed to include him. Anyway, but like, that thing with Stitch that I think also other people like is they enjoy his chaotic nature, because they find it entertaining. And that, but yeah.
Well, those are all good arguments for why Stitch is still as popular as he is. So we've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes. I think we're going to wind things down here, but I do believe we are all in agreement that folks just need to go watch the original Lilo and Stitch on Disney+.
Yes. And the new one sucks.
Oh.
Yeah, Lily, the new one sucks. Deal with it.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, I want to thank you two for coming on and saving your father a headache from having to deal with this review tonight. You're both wonderful children. All right. And don't know if you guys are coming on any future shows or if there's any other upcoming movies or TV shows you guys were interested in. I mean, heaven forbid your father suckers you into discussing the live action How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh my god, that looks so bad.
Fun fact, you know that the guy who designed Toothless for that film is Chris Sanders, designer of
Oh, wow.
Stitch.
Oh wow.
Well, I mean, think about the way Stitch and Toothless kind of move and their facial expressions and everything. They
Yeah.
really are very similar.
Mhm.
Okay, so note, Mark, do not bribe your children into sitting through that movie. Got it.
I probably will have to, but I'm not happy about it.
Good to know. Are there any movies coming out this summer you guys are interested? You actually are excited to see. You're not going just because your father has got the reins and he's bringing you in all shackled and tied up, saying, if I have to suffer, you have to suffer with me.
I mean, the Phoenician scheme looks good. Did I pronounce that?
I think so. You're a Wes Anderson man?
Yeah, I don't know. I might, if I like it, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Whatever movies have you made?
The Grand Budapest Hotel, the Tenenbaums, Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh, that movie. I've heard about that.
Mhm. Oh, it's a great claymation, or well, it's not claymation, it's stop motion animation.
All right, I think that's the end stream. That's good.
All right, what about you, Lily? Were there any movies coming out this summer you actually really want to see?
Not off the top of my head at the moment, no.
All right. I can't believe neither of you said Superman or Fantastic Four. I was expecting.
Oh, I forgot about them. Yeah, those movies both look really good.
Mhm. All right. Well, hopefully we'll be able to get you guys back on here. Jonas, I know that they're filming the second season of Avatar: The Last Airbender, so hopefully when that premieres on Netflix, I'll have you back for that.
Oh god. Again. No.
I thought you enjoyed coming on to discuss that.
Oh, no, I hate the show.
Okay, good to know. All right. Well, hey, thanks again for coming on to discuss this. You guys were wonderful. So for everyone else out there, again, just do yourself a favor. Go watch the classic Lilo and Stitch on Disney+. It's still a great film, still holds up, still really enjoyable. The live action, it's got a couple of cutesy moments, but it's definitely not enough to really stand on its own. So for myself, for Mr. Jonas, for Miss Lily, aloha. Have a wonderful evening.